Alright, I had to pop in for a quick minute. We had such high hopes for this thing. We really expected something really great coming on the back of One Piece, which I think everybody can agree that it was amazing, thanks to Oda and Netflix coming to their middle ground, and they weren't able to insert their ideas. Well, guess what happened? In the Avatar movie, or series, excuse me, we got a note that the original creators left. Who would have thought? Something came about, they didn't like where it was going, and in their words, quote unquote, we don't want to get blamed again. And after a few days ago, I was keeping up for a little bit, but something kind of pushed it over the edge for me, which was the comment that they wanted to make this similar to Game of Thrones. Just things started rolling out even faster. Like this quote here, essentially we gave him the visions of what's going to happen, and he says, I have to get to the Northern Water Tribe to stop this from happening. We're not going to follow Aang, as we come to obviously know from the show, where he goes from a kid defecting from him not wanting to be the Avatar, and instead we kind of cut that all off. We just have him become That's So Raven. Why? Why are we doing this? Netflix, what are you doing? This sounds... Yeah, even M. Night Shyamalan had at least some respect for it. And in the same regard, we're getting things like this too, where they're dumbing down some of Katara's character growth, if you will. Some gender issues that didn't quite translate to the cartoon. Well, even looking back into it, we can understand that it wasn't really a gender thing. Like when she had her bouts with the elder from the Northern Tribe, she didn't hate him because he was a man. Like, for example, she hated him and some of the men that she interacted with because they were arrogant. They were just cocky. Zuko was a cocky butt cheek, and she kind of bullied him to a degree until they got to talk more. And same thing with the elder. After they fought and he found her grandma's necklace and that was his old betrothed, and we get the whole story. Okay, this is what pushed me off to say I'm just gonna put this out there because I love Avatar. One of my favorite shows, period. Showrunner says that they had to find a balance to where the series appeals to OG fans and people who like Game of Thrones. It couldn't be just for kids, or it couldn't just be for kids, which this is faulty, this is wrong, this is denied. Avatar, since it came out, wasn't just for kids. Yes, it was on Nickelodeon, but when people talked about it, it was just a universal thing. And I even recall, growing up, they were adults who were enjoying the show because as the kids were watching, they would watch and they got into it. They're like, wait, like this is a pretty well-rounded show. So this just for kids, quote unquote, I don't know where they're going. I don't know where this came from. And by the way, Game of Thrones did not end well. I remember really well that it had one of the best starts ever. It was renowned, and then it fell apart like a burning dumpster fire. So I don't know what that's supposed to entail. I'm not looking forward to that. So what was the point of this? What was the point of this? Are you trying to warn us? And be another dumpster fire. And this article, which I actually have on the side, is the one that blew everything up and made me go, uh-oh. We took out the element of how sexist Sokka was to feel like there were a lot more moments in the original show that were iffy. Yeah, totally, adds Ian. There are things that were redirected just because it might feel differently in a live action. So, translation, y'all are being beachies. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it. Anybody with 2 working brain cells, 2 working neurodes, can tell you Sokka starts out probably as one of the most arrogant, annoying POS characters in a hot minute. And most people are gonna say, I don't like him. That's good. You're not supposed to like him. He is sexist. He flat out says it in the beginning. Girls are better at cleaning, cooking, etc. And men are better at everything else. Like he's a butt. he's a flat out Sokka is a butt. But we get his character growth. We get his moments. We see him grow with the gang as they go on their adventures. He meets the Kyoshi tribe, ends up falling with Suki, has that whole moment right there where he learns that women can be strong, if not stronger than men in some parts. And then he has to learn, well, the humility. Being a man doesn't mean you're better. You have to train, you have to put your hard work, you have to become a better person. You can't just treat somebody beneath you just because of their sex. The Kyoshi warriors were all badasses. They even saved them in the episode when the Fire Nation attacked. and he had to rethink that for a minute. As the show progressed, we got to see him interact with Katara as she ended up growing and learning more with her powers. So she kind of went from the annoying sister to a great motherly figure, a great caring figure, and her getting more comfortable with herself instead of being overbearing and being super like hardcore mom mode in her own character growth. But in Sokka, he had to learn to be equals with her. If not, she was kind of more dangerous in general. Remember the bloodbending episode? We even have one of my favorites where after they meet with Toph, for example, it's later on in the series, but after they have basically the gang and they're getting all with their training and they're kind of all really well off, Sokka is slowly piecing together what he wants to do. But the thing is, he starts to get a bit depressed because he's kind of stuck in not being a powerhouse. Aang's knowing more skills, Katara's doing more skills as well, Toph is a badass, which we all know, and all he has is a batarang and his brain, which he feels isn't enough, and he's really getting down about it. So he leaves, he finds the sword master, and he learns more ways to be better, to think outside the box, making his own weapon, being comfortable with himself, and seeing his friends aren't just gods over here, but his friends are his friends, and he's able to work with them, lead them properly, be the smart man, be the wit man over here, and be a good leader. And like think about that for a quick minute. He started off being literally sexist, a hateable, assholey character. As we watch the show slowly come along to respect Aang, to care for his sister even more and respect her as well, comes along, changes, even get to the point where he has his doubts of himself when Toph comes along, and we get that whole transition of the loss. Like when they do the first raid, he loses that and he hates himself and he wants to become a better warrior for his dad. All these things add up. To see him grow into a leader that we see by the end of the show. One of the best changes for a character, aside Zuko, which arguably is probably the triple S tier in character development, Sokka's right there below, I would say an A or regular S tier. That, again, hateable character, disliked him, literally sexist, to a great leader, respectful to all, smart, tactical, and somebody who just wants to help his friends. That's a big leap right there. So to see them and say that sexism moments between Sokka's story and Katara's story as well, it just makes no sense to me. I don't like what Sokka are we gonna get? What are they just gonna make him smart? Is he gonna be milady, respectful since episode 1? Like, it sounds super cringe, but is he gonna have a fedora with them? Like, what are y'all gonna do, guys? Seriously. And the whole thing of Aang not having his start and just having visions, if you will. The only thing that is remotely close to that was when Aang had to go to the temples and he got visions through those mini meditations. But to see him pull a That's So Raven, I don't know, man. This is just so weird. Maybe they can pull it off. And I mean, maybe they can pull it off, but it's very questionable. And again, I feel like we took out the element of how sexist. Oh, we were at that, but like, they're just agreeing with each other. There's no. It's just like, yeah, man, we took it off. We're doing great. Is this the right thing to do? Maybe they know something we don't. But again, when the creators left, kind of a big deal and makes everybody go, "What's going on here, buddy?" And to end it off, this is the one that I found out about looking at those updates, where they're not saying this is essentially them doing a live action of Avatar. It's them doing their own version of Avatar. Hence this is a remix, bro, not a cover. So if we didn't have any confirmation of this is just gonna be like the Atla you guys grew up with, this is telling us that this is not the Avatar we're gonna grow up with. It'll just look like the Avatar that you grew up with, but it's not. It's gonna be a little more respectable to women, a bit more respectable to each other, and Aang, and you know what? I don't want to. I don't think we're gonna care for that. Like nobody who likes Avatar ever said this show is too sexist. This show is too mean to women and men, and we shouldn't talk about a war. You know, there is no war in Ba Sing Se. Like, come on, this isn't Avatar. This is just gonna be a. It's gonna be another. This is Cowboy Bebop, guys. Don't you love Cowboy Bebop? And that was so bad. But what do you guys think? You think this is gonna be great? This is gonna be good old fun, or am I just over dramatic for no reason? Let me know what y'all think, and if you're excited for this show. I'll see ya.